Okay, so I'm going to recap what just happened there with this draw triangle method, because it's very important that you understand how these parameters work. I've started this one and it should be drawing me a triangle. Ooh, by the way, I've got the mini option set here for the robot, so that's why it's looking a little small. And I think this one kind of works out a bit like a spider web, so that's why I called my robot Spidey. Okay, so we've got a triangle and the length of the side of this triangle is 100. But we're going to have it be different lengths, so I'm going to get about doing this recipe. Okay, so number 4, make a variable to hold the length of the triangle. Length, that'll do, and set it to 50. Okay, got that. 5, call your draw triangle method using the length variable. Well, it actually put that in for me, which is kind of nice, but that's what it means, is get this length variable, put it in there, and what should we get? Okay, we should get a smaller triangle that is half the size of the last one, because it's going to have a length of 50. Little triangle. Okay, next is, yes, it's a little slow, good Spidey. Set speed. Haven't had enough coffee today, or maybe too much. Set the speed. Go faster, please, Spidey. Let's see that. All right, cool. And then I'm going to do all the steps 60 times below. This is child's play to you guys now. Remember those loops? Down, 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 down. Alt down makes the curly brace go down like that, although you can also cut and paste it, but that's the pro way of doing it. Alright, so now this hasn't formatted, as you can see, because this command is right in line with the curly brace, so I'm going to auto format that. That wasn't what I wanted. See, you can still make mistakes with these things after doing it for 20 years. Source, format. All right. So now it's coming in a little bit. See, the indentation is there. So what do we expect to change now that we have this happening 60 times? It's going to go round and round and round, something like 60 times. And let's move on to, oh, that's that. Do all the steps below 60 times. Well, we could count it for a thorough test, but I'm just going to believe that it's right. Now this is where it gets interesting. We want to increase the length of the side by 10 pixels. You could do length equals length plus 10, or if you're being a pro about it, you could be doing it like this. Those two things are the same. I like putting spaces there, but that's not necessary. Oh man, it's still going over there. All right, so we have a different shape coming out, and this is the part that I wanted to show you. I'm just gonna, you guys can stop now. Okay, so what's going on is this length variable starts at 50, and then it gets increased by 10. So that value is being passed down to the draw triangle method, which is here, and then this variable length is being set to 60. And then in this for loop, we get 60. Just to clarify, this happens to have the same name, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be like that. Down here in the method, it could be called distance. Because what's actually happening is when you call this method, this length, the value of length is going to get copied into the int distance. And then after that, as you saw when I had length here, inside of this method doesn't even know what length is. Cannot be resolved to a variable because it's inside this method, and up here the length that we've declared at this point is inside another method, the go method. So that means that they can't see each other. That's why it's red. But inside the method it most certainly can see this distance variable, and those two things are the same. Just gonna print this out a little bit because I think it might be even more clear if you can see the distance variable. All right, so it's printing out down here. So we're getting 3 of 1 because this for loop's going around 3 times, and then we're getting an increase of 10, and it goes like that. All right, so this is starting to be a little nicer, but let's see. Oh, we got to change. I hope that's clear. I just feel like finishing this off because it wants to look pretty. Set random pen color. So do you see the way I'm doing this? I'm always testing before I delete the comment. Oh yeah, that's random enough for me. Okay, then I'm going to turn the tortoise 6 degrees to the right. This is a mistake. This should say robot. I'm going to update that in a second for y'all. And to do that, I'm going to go Spidey. Spidey, turn 6. Okay, what do we get now? This thing, which is called triangle shell. Okay, so the important part of that, and the reason I wanted to go over it again, is just so that you see how these parameters get passed in. So this variable length gets passed in to draw a triangle. It's copied into the parameter distance, and then you can use it all you want. Okay, so time to do something new. This next thing is going to teach you how to create your own methods from nothing, well, from some code that I made earlier. And the code that I made earlier draws a building. Okay, I call this guy Builder, and I have it drawing one building, and then I have this little piece of grass over here because I'm planning on connecting them up with grass, and I want to draw a whole bunch of these buildings. That's a little distracting. Let's just stop that. Okay, so here's my code. I'm creating the robot, putting the pen down, setting the pen width, set the speed. All of those things, those are things you just want to do once at the beginning of your program. So I'm going to separate them by a line right there. This is the part that draws up, and then this is the part that draws the roof. So all of that stuff is what I want to repeat. So what I'm going to do is just select that, and then I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to say refactor, extract method. This is a easy way of doing it if you don't know how to make your own methods, or actually if you're a total pro, because what I would usually do with this is select it and then use the shortcut, which is Windows key Alt M, and then I get that. So when you're actually writing a whole bunch of code, that will save you some time. Okay, so what it's asking me for here is a method name, and I'm going to call it draw building. That's what my method's going to do. Wow, see, look at that. I'm just going to test it to make sure it does the same thing. Okay, and now I should be able to draw multiple ones. Ooh, well, we can't have that. I guess I gotta set the pen color back right about here. Ooh, and the width. Width. So I'm actually going to move this line down because it needs to happen every time. Alt, down. Set pen color, set width. Let's try that. Yes, that is kind of what I wanted. But see, you guys can't see the whole screen, but it's sort of starting in the middle. So I'm going to set the position. To start in the corner. Now, usually how it is in visual things for programming, the 0, 0 is up here in the top left corner. So right now I'm bang in the middle for both the X and the Y, but I wanted to get over here in the corner because I'm going to draw a skyline like this. So I'm going to adjust the X and Y. For X, let's see if I'll try maybe 100, 300. Let's see where it goes. Okay, I like the X, but the Y needs to be more, so let's try 500. My computer's getting tired of all this building. Okay, cool, so see the way I've got 2 now. Okay, I didn't quite want this to happen. So you can see that my builder is being passed as a parameter, and that's a little more advanced than what we're doing today. So I'm actually going to stick my builder up there and do this. Ooh, that's not really a normally done thing, but I just wanted to work out for me today. And I'll show you about static and all that in a moment. I mean in the next lecture. Okay, the thing is, I was hoping that the buildings would be of different sizes. And that's an old one. Get rid of you, and you, and you, and you. I have a bad habit of letting these things build up. Okay, so now it's fresh. And the general idea, so I have to figure out where in this code is the height. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to, inside the method here, declare a variable, and I'm going to set it to 100. I actually, yeah, well, I like that number because I'm pretty sure that this 100 is the one that determines the height, and that determines the down. I'm going to leave that as it is, just so that we can figure it out together. Okay, so nothing's changed so far. Let's see if I can change the height to 200. Okay, now something funky's going on there, and what's happening is my upways is setting it to the variable height, which is 200, but the down is still stuck at what it was. It's not dynamic. And that's because I need to change the down, which is this one, to also be height. Okay, we have 2 taller buildings. Right, so we're going to try and make it so that this method can draw buildings of different heights. And the way we do that is we give it a parameter. So it wouldn't be used like this, it would be used like this. And now for kicks, I'm going to make them 2 different heights. We have big building, bigger building. Okay, so like I was saying with the triangle shell, this is now a dynamic value. So whatever you pass into the draw building method, then it will change the height of the building. I was hoping to make this into a city, but yeah, I'm going to do that in a second. First, I want to show you how you could go even more crazy with this, because here we have, this is what draws the roof. So it's going to turn 45 and move. That's making the little pointy roof thing. And I could actually extract this into a method. And draw pointy roof. So I'm actually thinking that I would maybe like some to have pointy roofs and some to have square roofs. So they're all like modern and stuff. You can put a pool up there. Okay, I'm just running it again to make sure I didn't break anything, but I did do that as an automatic refactoring, so it would be hard to kind of mess up. Now, since I have this comment here and it matches my method name, that's an extraneous comment, so I'm going to remove it to keep my code tidy. Usually, if you see a bunch of comments like that, that's a bad sign that the code is not describing itself. Okay, so draw a pointy roof, but sometimes I want to draw a square roof. So let's see, how should I go about this? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a variable in here. To decide whether it's pointy or not. And then you'll see that my draw building over here is not happy because the draw building in Boolean is not applicable for arguments int. The way that the compiler describes these things is quite confusing, but it is important that you get to know what the hell it's talking about. Right, so what it really means is here we have two parameters, and when I call this method, I've only got one. So I've got to put a Boolean. So far, we have a few different types of variables. We did string and int, those were the first two. We did double. A double is a thing that's got a decimal point in it, like this. And now we have Boolean. Booleans can only have two values, true or false. Okay, so I'm just passing in this stuff, but I'm not actually doing anything with pointy, so I should expect to see the same thing. Alright, that is the same. So at some point, I'm going to make a decision. Oh, would you look at that? See, it read my mind. If pointy, draw pointy roof. Oops, I wanted to delete that one. And then I'm going to do else, draw square roof. Now it's red. That's okay because this doesn't exist yet, but look at what Eclipse will do. It's going to auto-create it for me with this quick fix. So I'm clicking on the light bulb. My computer is eventually going to respond with the option to create method draw square roof. You can see that I don't have any parameters for this method, so it hasn't given me any here. Now all that's left for me to do is draw a square roof. I think it's pretty basic to do that. Square roof is, so we want to turn, nope, we want to turn 90, and then we want to move the distance. Sometimes it's hard to talk and code at the same time. We want to now do the width. What is the width, by the way? Well, this pointy roof business is going 50 and 50. Oh goodness, now we have to do some math, but I'm actually not going to do the math. This is Pythagoras. I need to get so it's a triangle, and I need to get that, but I'm not going to work it out. I'm just going to try something and see what it looks like. We do need to do another turn 90 to get back oriented to where we were before. Oh, that wasn't right. So the second thing I'm turning, we'll move, turn, move, turn. I'm turning too much on the second one. How's that? Turn 90. Oh, and then we're turning 35. Okay, so there's actually a little problem with this code. And that is that this line here, this turn extra 45, is doing it in addition to my 90 instead of. Okay, I'm going to try and explain that a little slower. So here what we have is, say it was a pointy roof like the first one is, because pointy is true, and then it says if pointy, so the first thing it's going to do is draw pointy roof, comes in here, does that stuff, and then once it's done with that, the next line after this line is this one. So it's turning a little extra, and that's because this line really belongs in the draw pointy roof method, When I was refactoring that out, when I was extracting that method, I didn't have the right grouping. Better, ought to be a little wider. Okay, so I just want to go over this weird things that I say, like refactor, and what other strange words was I using? Extract method. Okay, so refactor or refactoring is when you change the code without changing its functionality. So the refactoring that I've been doing here is I've been extracting methods, but I can do all sorts of different ones. Like I could use it to do renames. I'm right clicking, then I'm going into the refactor section, and then I'm going to rename. So say I wanted this to change it to architect. How do we spell that? I just hit enter and then it automatically changed all those for me, and that's the rename refactoring. The one that we're using right now is the extract method refactoring. Anyway, that's a little diversion. Where are we at? We've got pointy roofs. We have the ability to draw things of different sizes. So I'm just going to go and make a bunch more of these. I think what would be actually cooler would be if we had this in a loop. Then we have to generate some randomness for the, how many houses do we want? 10. We have to generate some randomness for at least the height. And format. Did I really do that? Getting used to a new keyboard here. So this, instead of having it hard-coded, well, if I actually, ran this, I'd get a whole lot of buildings. I'd get 10 multiplied by 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 of them. I'd get 70, and I don't want that. I was just going to have one of these. And then I was going to change this value for something random. Okay, now like we saw before, we can put in here a bound, an upper bound, and I'm going to make that 200. No, let's see. What was the height that we liked? Let's go up to 400. And then I'm going to use this random height parameter to pass into the draw building method. But I'm not going too fast there. So random height is going to be something between 0 and 400, and then it's going to draw that as the height. Oh, little bitty one. I actually don't like them being so low as that. They're for like little munchkins to live in. So I'm going to set this value to be a little more. So I'm going to add, let's say the minimum size is 100. And then when I'm doing that, I ought to reduce the upper bound. So now this is going to make it so that all of my buildings have to be at least 100 pixels high. Stop. Okay, that's looking pretty nice. I'm getting sort of happy with it. I'll make it less because I don't want it driving over the edge, falling into the abyss. What has just happened since I've used this for loop is I've lost the ability to make square roofs. I'm also going to make that random boolean pointy or not. We get this from random too. And you won't be surprised that its next boolean, that's going to be a random true or false. So this is a method. These are methods that are part of this random class. And it has a bunch of different things. But after the dot, that's when you see methods. And then you can tell that there's two versions of the nextInt method. One takes a parameter and one doesn't take a parameter. That's called method overloading. And it means that you use the same method name, but you can change the parameters. Okay, do we think it will work? Pointy? Pointy? Oh my goodness. All right, we're getting a whole lot of pointy over here. Gonna let the architect keep drawing. So can you guys see what the problem is here? Okay, well, Eclipse is giving us a little hint. It's kind of nice like that. Do you see the way this pointy or not is yellow? So yellow means warning. And the warning it's giving me is that the value of the local variable pointy or not is not used. And that is true. I'm not actually using the random pointy or not. I'm still always making every roof pointy. So what I need to do is use this variable in my method. Ooh, we got a square one. Oh, we're getting a lot of, oh, no, randomness. Yes. Okay, and there we have a cityscape. Okay, so it feels like time for some practice because I've been telling you a lot of things. Let's see, what were we going to do next? Yes, obedient tortoise. Okay, so this is your next exercise. It's called obedient robot. And so I've started this one off. It's in the exercises directory. And what I want you to do is make different methods. There's going to be 3 of them. And this is how it works. So when I run this, it's going to give me an option to ask what shape I would like, triangle, square, circle. And your job is to implement all those methods. It should be 3 methods so you can practice. And then call that method depending on which selection the user has made. All right, good luck. See you soon.